Well, the government shutdown has happened. Um, they couldn't agree, and so they've shut down. And this article was written yesterday. 750,000 federal workers risk furloughs in government shutdown, CBO estimates. I think a better title would be 750,000 federal workers risk layoffs in government shutdown. For those that don't know, Trump, through the Office of Management and Budget, filed a memo to all agencies saying if your department is losing funds, we are requesting a reduction in force, meaning we're going to have to get rid of some people because we don't have funding for these individuals. So let's read that. Those furloughed employees, as well as congressional staffers, will not receive paychecks, putting pressure on lawmakers in White House to find an agreement to reopen the government. The daily cost of those employees' compensation will be roughly $400 million. The government will shut down at midnight if Congress doesn't authorize a short-term spending stopgap. So the government did shut down. Again, this was written yesterday, but I'm referring to it. Why do we need a short-term spending stopgap? Like, this is the thing I don't understand. Every time the government shuts down, you've had a year to discuss the budget. You've had plenty of time to be able to get this out of the way. I don't understand why our government continually is having a problem and wants short-term spending stopgaps. First and foremost, I don't understand why Republicans don't listen to their actual constituents, because their actual constituents are asking for a reduction in the government budget. So we have Democrats who are wanting to increase the budget this year by $1.5 trillion. And of that $1.5 trillion, some of that they want to go to illegal aliens in this country. They've broken our laws. They are criminals. They've entered our country. They are quote unquote unwelcomed by the government itself, by the actual laws of the land. They are unwelcomed. Now, I understand that the left generally says, no, we are welcoming them, right? So I'm talking from a standpoint of law. They are not welcome here. And of course, the Republicans will say, yeah, they're not welcome here. But of course, locally, the left welcomes them. So my concern again is like, why wasn't all of this discussed beforehand? Why do we have to play these games that we're going to shut down the government and everything? Now, personal feelings today is I love that the government has shut down. This to me is exciting, especially because it gave Trump the opportunity to possibly lay off more individuals. The White House has warned that temporary furloughs could turn into firings. They filed the memo, effectively saying if you do not have funds, we're going to have a reduction. So please, all departments, let's reduce it. Also, I don't want anyone here that doesn't agree with my priorities. So let's get rid of those that we can. Now, my understanding is if they get funding, the reduction in force is no longer enforceable because they now have funding. And according to the law, they have to be given 60 days notice before they can be let go. There's also all these like rules about tenure and ability and how long you've been there. And sometimes there's this like retreat clause where if you've been working there, but that position is no longer required, but you've been there forever and you're really good at knowing what you're doing, you could retreat to another position, which means that individual who was in that position will have to be kicked out or moved or changed or whatever. So there, regardless of whatever happens, if Trump gets any type of reduction, it's going to come at the cost of the federal government having to make. But again, 750,000 workers are at risk of not getting paid during this time frame. And the law prohibits them from being able to work during that time as well as volunteer during that time. They're not allowed to do anything with the government, but they also get back pay, generally speaking. There's also a few exceptions, like the military. They still have to continue to work. They're the exception to that rule where they have to work. They're not allowed to not work time. So because of that 60-day notice, I actually would love Democrats to continue pushing for increasing the budget by $1.5 trillion. Go ahead, keep pushing for that for 61 days. Push as hard as you want. And if they concede and decide not to anymore, Republicans, stand your ground and do not open the budget. Because here's the deal. Again, Your constituents want you to reduce the budget. And instead of doing anything that your constituents are actually asking for, because apparently when we vote, we don't vote directly as Republicans. That's why I just don't like the Republican Party. But here's the deal. Your constituents want a reduction. You're not even fighting for that. You're fighting to actually increase it slightly for your own protection instead of decreasing the budget. So better yet, leave it shut down for 2 months, 61 days. Let the 60-day notice go. Let's let all these individuals go at the federal government. Federal government employs 2.4 million people. That is like a large corporation. That is a ginormous corporation. That's way too many people that are being hired by our federal government. It is bloated. It needs to have a reduction. And 750,000 sounds like a great number to start. That's like a third. So I'd like to see it. On that note, largest mass resignation in U.S. history is 100,000 federal workers have quit. Some 100,000 federal workers are set to formally quit the U.S. government in what will constitute the largest mass resignation of government workers in U.S. history. The resignations, which come as part of a program drawn up by President Donald Trump at the start of his second administration, will happen on Tuesday as Congress is facing a deadline on the same day to authorize more funding or risk a government shutdown. If there is no deal, the White House has ordered federal agencies to make plans for large-scale redundancy. Newsweek contacted the Office of Personnel Management by email outside of normal business hours to comment on this. So in other words, they got nothing back. So here's the deal. Trump, for those that don't know, he proposed a program when he was first made president, shortly thereafter, saying, hey, federal government, there's too many of you. It's too big. We got to let some of you go. Anyone who is willing to quit on their own, we will continue to pay you for 8 months. And you can either go get a new job and have both pays. You can just take a vacation, do whatever you want. But if you're willing to quit, we will continue to pay you for 8 months. Leave. So Trump has already established for 9 months that he wants to shrink and reduce the force of the federal government workforce. So this was a perfect opportunity. Now, I don't think that Donald Trump was playing, like people like to say, 4D chess or anything. He wasn't sitting there being like, I'm going to wait until this happens. I think it was a contingency plan because from all intents, it looks like Trump was trying to keep the government open, or at least that's what he was saying out loud. It's what he was saying to the public. And he was trying to work with the Democrats, and he's saying, hey, guys, we got to keep the government open. Let's come together. So he created a meeting for some of the Democrats and some of the Republicans to come together to talk about it and hash it out. They disagreed. And he goes, fine. If we're not going to agree, I am going to move for layoffs because you are unwilling to fund these individuals. So we're going to go ahead and let them go. Now, again, they have to be given 60-day notice. So if their funds are restored within 60 days, they're not going to go. And that's why I think that the Democrats are sitting there like, you're not going to do anything. But this is the deal. Republicans, you need to stand your ground. Okay? Stand your ground. We need these individuals to be laid off. Your constituents are asking for a reduction in the workforce of the government. The government is too big. We want it smaller. Your constituents are asking for you to decrease the budget, not to increase it in any way. We need a decrease in the budget. Why does this matter? Loss of federal workers will have a huge impact on operations across different parts of government and could disrupt services, including the Department of Veteran Affairs and Social Security Administration. Of course, those are the two they bring to attention because they're the ones who are going to have the most complaints to the federal government because so many people are relying on those situations, and people generally in America do like their veterans. So 100,000 people leaving. If the majority of them are coming from those places, I would love to just see what happens. Does it really get that much worse? Does it get better? I would like to actually play the game and see if it gets worse or if it gets better or if it just remains the same. Because if it remains the same, it proves for a fact that we are too bloated and there are too. But I also understand there's going to be a learning curve for some individuals, right? If people quit, there's going to be some individuals that have to pick up some of the work that was left. I don't think all the work, but some of the work. And they're going to have to learn how to do that. And maybe there's some problem the first month, but I think we let it run its course a little bit longer than a couple months to actually determine what's going on, especially if the layoffs happen. So yeah. Now, the good news for the federal workers, some of them at least, is that labor unions have sued the Office of Management and Budget, and OPM for unlawful threats of mass layoffs ahead of shutdown. As the federal government hurtled toward a shutdown Tuesday, 2 labor unions representing federal workers sued the Trump administration over its threats to conduct mass layoffs while the government is closed. The union alleges in the lawsuit that the Office of Management and Budget and its director, Russell Vought, broke the law by directing federal agencies to prepare reduction in force plans for potential shutdown. I don't understand directly this. I think they're trying to play like a nuanced game here and saying they broke this one specific rule, because if you don't have funding, that is one of the reduction in force and RIF. That is one way that the president actually does have power to say, hey, we've lost funds. We're going to have to let you go. We need a reduction in force. It literally, they have been defunded. They have not received appropriations because the federal government has not agreed to actually continue with a budget. Again, excluding the mandatory payments. The lawsuit also names the Office of Personnel Management, along with its director, Scott Kapoor, for issuing instructions that federal employees may work during the shutdown in order to carry out the mass layoffs. The lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California by the American Federation of Government Employees and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. The unions are asking a judge to declare the layoff threats illegal and to invalidate any actions the administration takes to conduct layoffs during the shutdown. So I think this is the nuance right here. Issuing instructions that federal employees may work during the shutdown in order to carry out the mass layoffs. My understanding is, according to the law, they're not allowed to work. They're not allowed to volunteer. They're not allowed to do anything while there is not funding for them. Now, the question is, there are individuals who are exempt. So who are the federal employees that should be working during the shutdown? And I don't have all the information that who's suing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I don't have a huge legal background, but I can read. And so based on the words that have been given to me, my understanding is there could be people that he asked that, yeah, you are exempted from the shutdown. You need to continue working. And because you're going to continue working, please make sure that those who have been defunded, we're going to have some removals. So let's file to actually get them removed. Now, technically, Trump asked them to do this on the 25th or 24th or something. So they've had 5-6 days to be able to actually carry this out and carry this through. They should be very well aware of how many individuals will be furloughed during that time, because they should know which employees are not exempt and which employees are not part of the mandatory government spending. Because of that, they should already have been able to prepare this, and I don't understand why they should have to work through into this shutdown. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I got some questions. That's effectively what I'm saying. I will also say, because this is in California, I think they selected this location on purpose. There's going to be a California judge. He's going to see one little discrepancy. The right's going to argue that, no, we're allowed to. The left's going to argue, no, they're not. And the judge is going to side with the left because it's California, and they're going to say, no, you're not allowed to do this. We'll see what happens there. These actions are contrary to law and arbitrary and capricious, and the cynical use of federal employees as a pawn in congressional deliberations should be declared unlawful and enjoyed by this court. Now, if that was the explicit reason for the lawsuit, that is ridiculous, because, again, Trump already established from the moment he was made president, even before that the federal government was too large, the bureaucracy needed to go, and it needed to shrunk. He gave opportunities for individuals to leave of their own accord and to pay them for 8 months. So I'm sorry, but he's not using it as a pawn in congressional deliberations. He was doing this before. He just found the opportunity within the congressional deliberations to say, well, if you guys aren't going to fund them, I got to get rid of them. I already said I was going to get rid of them anyways. You are now giving me the opportunity to get rid of them. Me personally, if I was the judge, like, that wouldn't hold up, because Trump has been wanting this and has made it known since he was made president. So if that was the only reason, and again, they're going to find some strange nuance, I'm sure. So that's the good news, though. There are some lawsuits for some of the individuals. There's a lot of laws on who's allowed to leave, who's not allowed to leave, and where they got to go, and it's going to cause a lot of disruptions. A lot of just waves are going to be happening in the federal government if any of this goes through. But again, Democrats, hold strong. Please, please, please do not allow a budget to go through. And if you do, Republicans, please hold off. Okay, hold off even for a year if you have to. Which, speaking of which, the discretionary funds are like $1.9 trillion. If you remove that, we'd actually have a surplus in government. The revenue is like $4.7 trillion and mandatory spending is 4.4. They would immediately balance the budget if they just stopped for a year. Now, I don't know that for sure. That's just my understanding. I'm sure there's some nuance. It's the government. There's way too many rules and laws and regulations. This over there and that over here. It all just is crazy. So I'm sure it's not exact. And I'm going to put it this way too. I don't think Trump's going to get the full 750,000, even if they went for the 60 days. Like I hope they do. I'm sure that the reduction in force plan at most will get rid of 10%, 75,000 employees. I don't think it'll be more, but we already got 100,000 out. That's great. I think the total number who have left the U.S. government is like 300,000. But again, when the federal government does 2.4, we have too many people. All right, so I want to go over this. It's kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it does relate, and I'll explain after. Bombshell ICE sweep in Minneapolis, St. Paul finds 50% of immigrants had committed immigration fraud. 50%. Nearly half of all immigrants in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities were found to have committed some form of immigration fraud during a recent sweep by immigration authorities. Officials revealed Tuesday. Officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, which the right is going to immediately say Ilhan Omar, which they are going after. They're looking into it. They've pulled the marriage licenses and everything. She did marry this person. The question is this person her brother? I guess that's what I think is going on. I haven't really followed it. Visa overstays, which I'm sure that's probably the most of them, but I'm also sure there's a lot of overlaps, right? Someone overstayed and they tried to get married, or they overstayed, lied on something. People claiming to work as businesses that can't be found. So there are people who are saying, I work for Amazon Co. or I work for, Twin Cities Action Rights or something. They're just creating up a name, and maybe that one exists. I don't know. But they're creating up a name of a company, putting it on and saying, I work for these. These people, in my opinion, need to be investigated immediately. And we need to do more digging into why they're here, what they're doing. Because if they're not working for a business, maybe they're just getting cash under the table, and so they made up a lie so that they don't indict some actual corporation that they're working for, a company or whatever it is. But otherwise, if they're not, how are they getting money? How are they getting paid? How are they living and operating in the U.S.? Why? This one kind of scares me, and I want to know what the percentage of the 50% have committed this crime specifically, because this one to me is very worrying. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if I am, but the way I understand it is, how are you here? How are you doing anything if you're not actually working for a business and you lied about that? Like, all the other liars, great, but this one to me is above the other problems that we see. Forged documents, that's a problem. Abuse of the H-1B visa system, abuse of the F-1 visa, and many other discrepancies. This part's also my favorite down here. Officials didn't point to a specific group. So officials are not saying that it's any type of illegal immigrant. But the Twin Cities has seen a massive uptick in Somali refugees and immigrants in recent years. So I guess MSN is claiming that the majority of these individuals are probably from Somalia. Yes, I don't know. With more than 82,000 from East Africa country living. So statistically, 41,000 Somalians are cheating and lying and abusing our system. Again, that would be based on statistics, but I don't know how many other groups of illegal immigrants are actually in this number. So maybe it's all of them, maybe it's none of them. I don't know. But regardless, it needs to be investigated. I don't think that this number is representative of the whole of the United States, but I bet you anything it's probably close for other sanctuary type cities or states where there are a huge influx of these individuals. I'm sure a lot of them are committing fraud. It's already been proven that fraud is happening. There are individuals who, like, everyone likes to claim, like, you can't vote if you're here illegally, but there have been individuals who are registered to vote, Republican and Democrat, that are here illegally and shouldn't be allowed to vote. They're not citizens, and somehow they're registered. So, like, we need to look into it. There needs to be more of an investigation. We got to go into it. So whatever. But the reason I want to bring this up as a side note is these are the type of individuals that the Democrats are actually trying to fight for when they're trying to increase the budget by $1.5 trillion. Because it includes individuals who are here illegally. They have come here, They should not be here. Democrats say that everyone deserves health care. I don't care who it is, they deserve health care. And these people who have come here against our laws have committed fraud and are already taking from the U.S. citizenry. They are taking from us for themselves, and Democrats are saying we need to give them more. That is why I have a problem with the Democratic Party right now. Okay, and they keep trying to say, you guys are trying to make it about the illegals. We want it for everybody. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. You keep trying to give it to everyone. That is the problem. There are American citizens, Gen Z specifically, that can't get into houses, can't get, a lot of them are having a problem when it comes to getting work, and it's because they're needing their mommy or daddy to show up and help them. Okay, we have our own problems that we need to deal with right now. That is my main reason for wanting to see deportations and wanting to see immigration to America shut down almost completely, because right now we need to find out how to take care of our citizens. We are a sick nation. We have lost much of what made us American in the last few years, and the more people you invite in, the more it's going to get lost. We need them out so that we can refigure out what's going on and how to protect our own right now. Put on your face mask before you put on someone else. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. I think it ties in. So I brought this up in my last video. It was like 83% or 84% when we looked at it last. And of course, now it's at 100%. So it did happen. The outcome was a yes. So here we go. How many days will the federal government be shut down in 5? So we've got 5% who believe 1 to 3 days, which we're already on day 1. I seriously doubt that it's going to be shut down for less than 3 days. Like I agree. I think 5% is very unlikely. 4 to 9 days at 31%. I think that, like, I actually agree with this. I think the most likelihood is that it'll probably be within the second to possibly third week that they actually come to an agreement. Again, I want it to be 60 days. I just don't think it's likely. But I will say, I agree. I think it is more likely that it will last longer than 30 days and so please be 60 days than it is likely that it'll be in the next 2 days. So there you go. But you can kind of see when they first started early September, the 1 to 3 days was high, 42%. Now they're down to 5%. This one, I don't even, 30% for that. What's the 30? I forgot. 4 to 9 days. Yeah. So I don't know. And then you can see orange. Orange was like in the middle. It tanked. And then they're like, ooh, maybe it's actually going up. I agree. I think it is more likely that they're actually going to let this go a long time. Democrats are pushing really hard, saying we need to increase healthcare. We need to increase the budget by $1.5 trillion. And Republicans, for some reason, aren't saying we need to decrease it. They're saying we need to just keep it where it is. Please. No, your argument should be, actually, we need to get rid of 1.5 trillion. So thanks for trying to increase it by 1.5 trillion, but we need to decrease it by that much. So that's kind of where I stand. Now, let me know why I'm wrong in the comments below. Let me know what I missed. Like this video, subscribe, and if you know anybody, share this video. It really helps. If you find any value in what I do, please share the video. If you don't know anybody to share the video with, go make a friend and share this video. Maybe you can use this video to share with a friend, you know, like to become friends. Just be like, hey, I don't know you. You want to watch this video with me? It's a great video. Let's become friends. Maybe it'll work for you. I don't know, but we love to see it. I am in efforts of trying to call up local municipality areas in Utah, focusing mostly on Salt Lake and Utah County, to interview these individuals for their position. So if you want to know who you should vote for mayor or whatever, you don't have to read just the like quick paragraph that each city sends out to be like, this is who I am. I'd like to have an actual sit down with all these individuals that I can get to, everyone that agrees or actually replies to me. So we'll see where that goes. And again, hold off. Republicans, Democrats, both of you, hold off. Keep the government shut down for at least 61 days. Please. Please let it stay down. Shut down. And it's probably not going to happen because no one has a spine in our government. So there it is. But till next time, I hope you have a good one. And excited to talk to you again.